Hey, YouTube, it's So from So's Real Thoughts. I'm here live on YouTube and Facebook. So you're in the right place because you're already on YouTube and it's the place to be. Let me just get this going for a second. Okay, cool. Nice. So I can see you guys perfectly. Alrighty. Hold on. Okay, cool. How's everyone doing? I feel like it's been quite a week and just trying to get everything done. I guess we could start off with a few announcements. The only thing I really have planned is it's almost Halloween, so I've been trying to do like a live stream every week of horror theme related films. And so last week we did my 90s DVD haul, which I really love doing. As much as I don't want to buy that like a lot of DVDs because I have like a lot, there's just something about DVD hauls that I really love. So hopefully if there's something worth buying, I'll definitely have to do one for Black Friday. Another announcement, I have a film review coming up of a film that I really loved. And I can't wait for you guys to watch it because it's just super amazing. So I know a lot of people are going to be like, 10 horror masterpiece films? What? That's like, there's so many films. Yeah, there are like insanely amounts of movies that I could pick from, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to pick the films that honestly are close to my heart, ones that really push the boundaries, and ones that are just in a general sense really good movies. Not even horror movies, just really good movies in general. And oh man, this list is so insane. It took me quite a while to kind of figure out what I would consider a masterpiece film, but also ones that I loved, that really captured my heart in a sense, but also really frightened me to my core. And I think the last like horror film video that I made was like 4 years ago. I linked that below so you guys can see that if you guys want it. I was just starting YouTube and I look like a complete like baby, but those films, when I look back on that, I still think that those films still haunt me and still are just as good and hold up till now. But I've watched so many throughout the films, throughout the years now, considering that I've been going to Beyond Fest and they've been basically educating me on all the horror films, and it's been really great. And so, you know what? Let's just start off. Why not? You can't have like a horror film listicle or whatever without naming Suspiria. Suspiria is Dario Argento's film. It came out in 1977. It's basically about a newcomer who comes to a fancy ballet academy who gradually comes to realize that the school is a front for something far more sinister and supernatural amidst a series of grisly murders. So if you didn't know, this is a witch movie. Suspiria is a witch movie, and I love witches. There's just something about witches that are so captivating, and they've been deemed as evil for so long throughout the years. And so I really love that this film is about that. But what Dario Argento does so well in the horror genre, because made his own kind of style, is how just darn creepy it is without it being. It's just the accompaniment of the sound, the framing, the cinematography. It's so drenched, especially Suspiria. It's so drenched in so much color, and it gets really dark. And there's just something so captivating about the film that I keep coming back to it every year, and it's so beautiful in so many aspects. And so, oh man, I cannot even. The score is by Goblin, and they do such a insanely good job at making such a captivating and sinister yet spellbinding soundtrack. It's insane. I've been trying to list soundtracks of the week for you guys on my blog, and Suspiria, that soundtrack was what I listed last week. This week I followed it with It Follows soundtrack. So go to my website, www.soitsrealthoughts.com, to listen to it. It's so good. I think It Follows, on a side note, It Follows is one soundtrack that when I listen to, I physically feel so like itchy and bothered, and they do such a good job of that. Anyways, so yeah, it's so beyond like good. So Suspiria, that is, I need to get that DVD on Blu-ray or something. It's so good. If you haven't watched it, Dario Argento is like a freaking incredible filmmaker. He's one of the best filmmakers out there, and so he did Suspiria, Tenebrae. He basically created the giallo kind of style, and like he did Deep Red, Inferno, Tenebrae. He did so many things. It's quite insane. And yeah, so Suspiria. If you guys haven't watched it, watch it. Number 2. So I said before, you can't have a horror genre without naming Takashi Miike, because this guy's like really fucked up. He's probably one of the most like fucked up filmmakers out there, but he's so genius in so many aspects. And so, of course, for the number 2 slot, it has to be Audition. It came out in 1999, and it's about a widower who takes an offer to screen girls at a special auction arranged for him by a friend to find him a new wife. And the one he fancies is not who she appears to be at all. Isn't that how like horror films always start? You, like, for one, you're auditioning for your next wife, which is obviously a no-no. And then, of course, the one you like turns out to be crazy. But not crazy. I don't like the word crazy because it doesn't, it's such a short term for everything she is and everything she embodies, because it goes so much deeper than that. So Audition is one film that I feel like will be stuck in your head by how many levels there are to the story. And it's kind of like, I think when I watched it, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, because it was so dense in what was happening, and the characters, what's her name? Ihi Shina, who plays Asami Yamazaki, the girl. She turns out to be like a masochist of sorts. And there's one scene that I keep coming back to where she's like hovered over, and there's a bag behind her, and then slowly it moves, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Why is it moving? What is going on? It just doesn't, like, I don't, anyways, that image is like engraved in my mind. And then you find out what is actually in the bag, and then that's the point where you're like, what is this movie? Anyways, so it's so good. Obviously the climax scene is the most excruciating sequences you can see in cinema. And I've seen a lot. Hello, everyone who turned in. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Russell. Glad you guys are here. So, yeah, right now I'm talking about my number 2 film. The first one was Suspiria. Second one is Audition. It's insane. And if it was anybody, it's the Japanese who do J-horror, like, obviously, so well. And they kind of up the level of what horror is. And this is by far like one of the most like fucked up yet really intensely engrossing film, because you want to figure out what's happening what's happening, and you won't figure that out till the end. So number 3 is Cronenberg's The Brood. So I think I watched this last year. So, I mean, I watched this pretty recently. So, I love Cronenberg. I love everything that he has done so far, and I've been trying to dive into his filmography, like, more and more. And finally, I came down to The Brood. And why I consider this such a masterpiece is he does body horror so well. And not only is he talking about or showcasing body horror, but he also taps into like everyday feelings and anxieties, especially in this case being a mother. So it came out in 1979. The premise is a man tries to uncover an unconventional psychologist's therapy technique on his institutionalized wife amidst a series of brutal murders. And I feel like some parts of this film I had to like black out because it was kind of like traumatizing, and I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And it honestly takes multiple viewings till you figure out, or I want to watch it multiple times because I still feel like there's things I missed. And be sure to come back afterwards because I'm going to be listing all the trailers to all these films. And The Brood is one film that I found so deeply touching in a sense, because it's about this woman who, man, I'm trying to remember very clearly, but it's very hard because I was so scared that I had to like block out some of the things. She deals with being like a bad mom, and so she, like her husband is trying to divorce her and get custody of their child, but obviously in like the old days and even now in society, they view the mom as like the main caretaker. So she gets the custody of the daughter, and then because she's institutionalized, there's like all these let me see. Russell says The Brood and other films of that era really have a rawness missing from today's horror. And yes, Cronenberg is a master for body horror. Yeah, it's so insane. So I think why I consider this such a masterful film is because it dives into the anxieties of like the everyday woman of being like a shitty mom, and then it manifesting into her body in a sense. And when you figure out what's actually happening and who are murdering people on the streets, and why are there little people in like hoods with like old burnt faces, when you figure that out, it's really traumatizing in a sense, because he really does, he brings the anxieties. Like I honestly, this reminds me because last year I was super stressed for some reason, and I started breaking out in like hives every day. And I think when I watched the film, I was like, holy shit, it's literally all your anxieties coming out into your body. But Cronenberg takes it to a next level where it becomes a lot bigger. and into something that you would have never imagined. And it's in the end, it's very deeply sad, and there's a tragic moment where it's the iconic scene. If you know anything about Cronenberg and have seen stills of his film, especially The Brood, this is like the iconic scene, and it's so disturbing, yet it's really sad. And so you have to watch it. And when I watched it during that time, and I felt a sense of like relatability in a sense, even though it has nothing to do with what I was dealing with, had nothing to do with like motherhood and all this other stuff, but it's so insanely good, and it just talks about everyday life in a like in a kind of a relatable way, but it's such an insane film. So Samantha Eggar, who plays the mom, is so creepy in so many sense. I cannot begin to like. Oh my god, I have to watch it again, you guys. It's so good and very scary. And Cronenberg is a master of horror and body horror, and he's just the greatest. So yeah. So the fourth film is probably one of the most recent films of this decade. Oh my god, no, never mind. It's been more than 10 years or 11 years since this film came out, and it's The Descent. It came out in 2005, and it's about like a caving expedition that goes wrong as the explorers becomes trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators. So when I watched it, I went in not really knowing anything, and I was like, I've heard a lot of things about this, so I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna go watch it. No expectations. That's always how it always starts, isn't it? So what I love when people, what is good storytelling, I feel, is when you build up the tensions and anxieties within relationships and with the people, and then it goes and takes a crazy turn at the very end, because it has nothing to do with technically what started at hand, but it's a nice segue. So The Descent is probably anybody's worst nightmare. You get a group of friends, you go on a hiking expedition, and then experience, and then you guys get stuck, and the film captures is so good at capturing how it feels to be in like a claustrophobic setting, yet you're having relationship tensions with the people you're with, and so you don't trust them, especially when you're in such a life-threatening situation, and then it just goes off the rails. Like, I was really freaked out because they end up becoming haunted and terrorized by something in the cave, and you don't know what it is. And I think when you realize what it is, it's so deeply haunting because of everything that could happen to a person on like a random climbing or caving thing. Anyways, so that's like one film I don't know if I can. I mean, a lot of these films I probably can't watch again because it was just so creepy in so many levels, and this being one where it seems the most realistic, where you're just out. So I can't chill in nature because I'm always scared that like these things will happen. But obviously a lot worse because you don't have your phone, you're like completely disconnected, you have to fend for yourself at that time. So the Descent, yeah. So one of the other most recent films that I adored and love and is truly a masterpiece, every time I come back to it, I think, holy shit, this film is so good. And that movie is Let the Right One In. I'm talking about the Swedish one. It came out in 2008, and of course, the U.S. had to remake it, and so it's oh yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to read. Russell says The Descent and The Cave came out around the same time, but The Descent was far superior, for sure. Okay, wait. So yeah, the Let the Right One In. It's a Swedish film, so the U.S. obviously had to do a remake, and I think that one came out in 2010. Like seriously, like 2 years later, which is insane. And it's about this boy named Oscar. He's bullied, and then he finds love and revenge through Eli, a beautiful, particular girl who turns out to be his neighbor. And so he finds like companionship and friendship in this woman, this girl who is really creepy, only comes out at night. This is a vampire film, which I love. So so many genres I love, but vampire films and witch films, love them. There's not enough of them that is at this caliber. And what I really liked about this film is not only the cinematography, because it takes place in Sweden, and during the winter everything's just ice cold, and you can feel just how like distant everything is, yet it's just so captivating that he can tell such a good story with just the cinematography. And I loved how it was shot. There's so many moments that are iconic, and so like any good horror film, you take a premise and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into something that you haven't imagined it to be at the very end. And Let the Right One In obviously does that when you dive in and you find out who she really is, the neighbor, and what she's capable of, and her backstory. It's so deeply haunting, and it really takes the vampire film genre to a different level, because it adds so much humanity and sadness, and it's so good. I cannot. It's one film that will keep you on your toes and guessing, and so engaged in so many aspects, because oh man, it's so complex. I wrote about Eli as one of my badass femmes, and she is one of the most intriguing characters that anybody has ever written, because I don't think for a vampire film you would expect that, but honestly, nobody has been able to tap that, because maybe it was too controversial in a sense. It's so good. I will link that down below, my badass femmes that I wrote about Eli. Russell says that A&E is developing the Let the Right One In TV series. We'll see how that goes, because I guess they can kind of expand on that world. I don't know how much more they could really do, but yeah. So you can't talk about masterpiece films without talking about the man himself, and that man is Stanley Kubrick. And I'm talking about The Shining. I feel like for some reason what did I watch? Either I watched 2001 and then The Shining back to back, and I don't know how I wasn't sick after that, or just insanely like bogged with all these thoughts. But every time somebody asks me what my favorite movie is, it's either I always say Fight Club or The Shining. I don't know why, but I always come back to that. So I think that's good. So the film came out in 1980. A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter, where an evil and spiritual presence influences the father into violence, where a psychic son sees horrific forebodings from the past and of the future. What this film not only because Stanley Kubrick is such a perfectionist and you know he's not going to make a film just half-ass. So this is one film that went way over budget, like 6 months over budget, because he wanted to get everything perfect. And he literally drove Shelley Duvall insane. And I think that's how he was able to get that performance from her. And I think there was this one scene he made everyone do 127 times. That's a lot of takes, especially like on film. And so you have Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and then you have this creepy son. I think a lot of films, what you can, if you want to really amp it up, get a creepy kid. And Danny Lloyd does that perfectly. And him being somewhat psychic or have The Shining is seriously terrifying. It's so insane. And I love how this film goes to places that you didn't even think about, in a sense, and dives so deep and really causes you to yourself, in a sense. And then you're in the perspective of Danny the kid, and then you're just exploring with him, and it's very like voyeuristic in a sense. And oh man, there's just so many iconic moments, and you're like, what the fuck did that mean? And you're like, I don't know, but it's like a manifestation of the whole of hell, in a sense, on Earth. And oh man, the movie is so good. Like, obviously it's an iconic movie. So there's a film called Room 237. Basically they break down everything, all the theories about The Shining, and if you're a Shining fan, you have to watch it. It's insane the way people are nitpicking every part of this movie, because you know Stanley Kubrick isn't going to put something in the film without it actually meaning something a lot bigger. And the performances in this film, the music, the composition of everything, and every little thing is so this film is just a collection of everything that built pop culture, in a sense. Like the twin girls, if you see Red Drum, Jack Nicholson's typewriting scripts, there's so many little things that have influenced us in so many ways that you probably wouldn't have realized. It's GOAT, you guys. It's GOAT, greatest of all times. And that elevator scene, I keep coming back to it, and I'm like, how the hell did they do that scene? Like, I don't know if they used CGI then in the 1980s. I don't know how it works. But I'm like, how did they do that? It's so insane. I love it. Anyways, so let's see. We were talking about this. We just talked about Suspiria, Audition, The Brood, Descent, Let the Right One In, The Shining, and now this is one film that I actually watched in college, and I watched this in college, in class, I think, and it freaked the hell out of me. And I was like wondering if I should still put that, because is it still like considered a masterpiece and whatnot? But you know what? It really is, because I don't think I've been able to see a film like this, and I haven't been able to see it since then. I know I added it to my top horror films that I made like 4 years ago, and I was like editing the trailer into it, and I couldn't even look at the trailer because it was so scary. But the film is Nicholas Roeg's Don't Look Now. It's terrifying. It being like a fairly older film, came out in 1973. I feel like the 70s, man, there were like such good films. So a married couple is grieving after the death of their young daughter, and they're in Venice, and they encounter two elderly sisters, one of them who is psychic, and she brings like a warning from beyond. And the thing that's so scary about this is because it's rooted so much in realism, and it takes the trauma of losing a child, and it kind of manifests in different ways for them. And the film is so, I think the way he edits it and the way it's structured in general, it just blends everything together, and it brings you into their own grief very well, and that it's palpable, and it's not like other films where it's like, I just lost a child and I'm grieving. It's not like that. It really dives in deep, and holy shit, the opening scene, the way everything is edited, it just gets you into their mind, and how he sees and how he remembers everything. And there's guys, I cannot look at like a little person in a red coat or whatever ever again. It's just not happening. Because that scared the hell out of me. I also noted that this film has one of the most passionate love scenes ever. And I think what I ended up writing in that the video that I did 4 years ago was how like their sex scenes were it's like a connection with each other, but also disconnect from the outside world, and it builds up into something so insanely personal, and it's tragic, and it's disturbing in a sense, because it takes all the delusions and just the traumatic experience of losing a child into a horrifying exterior realm. And psychics are always not good. Like we said in The Shining, it's like people who know otherwise, it's a curse in a sense. And yeah, the ending, oh my god, wow. I can't. Anyways, I can't. Russell says the love scene in Don't Look Now still has questions over it. Did they do it for real? Who knows, you guys? I mean, maybe they pulled an Antichrist or something. Even in Antichrist, I'm not sure if they had real sex. I think it was like real. No, I think it might have been real sex. I don't remember. But, oh man. Don't Look Now. Classic film. Nicholas Roeg, who I think I mentioned in the last live stream that he ended up doing The Witches, which is a kid's film. And I'm like, no wonder The Witches is so good. It's because Nicholas Roeg did it, and he did this film, and it's... Oh, man, you guys. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm going to talk about next, because when we talk about horror films, and when we talk about things that dive in deep and not expecting where it goes, we're going to have to go there. And that there is Martyrs, which was part of the like New French Extremity. Like they had this, yeah, New French Extremity, where a bunch of like French people ended up making the most incredible, extreme films. One of them being, I wrote it down. One of them being Inside, High Intensity, Trouble Every Day, which is another film that I can never watch again, because cannibalism in that light does not work well with me, and that was traumatizing. Trouble Every Day was... So in college, I was watching a horror film every day for like, I think 2 weeks, a week. And it went from like all of Takashi Miike's, from Ichi the Killer to Audition to whatever. And then I got to Trouble Every Day. And then I couldn't watch another film because it was, to say the least, I felt very sick to my stomach. But because it's such a well-made film, you're not just sick to your stomach, it dives in so much deeper into um, your psyche, and it, like, oh my god, gross. Don't even want to talk about it, guys. I did not throw up, but yeah. So Martyrs came out 2008. A young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tormented her as a child leads her and a friend who is also a victim of child abuse on a terrifying journey into a living hell of depravity. Holy shit. I ended up watching this with my friend Sal from Chrome Yellow, and we watched it at home, thinking, just a regular day, just watching Martyrs. And I loved it, for one, because I haven't seen this done anywhere else, is I didn't even watch the trailer, but I'm so glad that the trailer tells you nothing about it. And it goes way deeper into something that you've never even imagined. And it goes down this hellish rabbit hole, and you keep going down till you hit literally rock bottom. And then it becomes a film where it deals with things that you honestly haven't even heard of. I'm not really religious, so I don't really know about certain things. And it kind of touches on certain religious topics. And I think that's what makes it so insanely engrossing and disturbing in a sense, because they add religion into that factor. And the way everything is set up, from them being victims of like abuse and them trying to get revenge, and then it being this other thing where they find a person who has been a victim for so long, and it's so disturbing. And you think it's about, you think it's like a slasher revenge film, but it dives so much deeper into like disturbing territories. Every time I talk about disturbing films, I have to come back to this. I have yet to watch. So I feel like this is on the same level. People are like, "Oh, is this torture porn?" I'm like, "No. Not like Eli Roth torture porn, because that's like outright just people love that." But this is done in a way where you're not lusting or like fiending for the torturous things to happen. It humanizes a lot of aspects and takes you into their shoes, and it's it really makes you sympathize, and it's just, oh my god, it's really traumatizing, you guys, for a film that's like an hour and 39 minutes. Are you kidding me? This film is insane. I will be sure to try to watch Inside and High Intensity. Actually, I don't know if High Intensity is American or French, but oh, all these films making me all disturbed. Anyways, so the last two films I'm going to talk about, and I watched this like maybe in the last like 2 years, and I consider this like the most iconic horror film. When you're talking about traditional horror, I think when people are like, "Oh, what you're not going to talk about Halloween or Nightmare on Saint shit. What's that? Nightmare on Saint Elm Street? Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah. Because those are like iconic, traditionally what they say, a crazy, great horror film. But the one that disturbed me the most is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um, how can I explain? Let's see. Hold on. So I watched it maybe like 2 years ago, and something about the 70s. Um, they just make such good movies. So it came out in 1974, and two siblings visit their grandfather's grave in Texas along with three of their friends and are attacked by a family of cannibalistic psychopaths. So right away, Tobe Hooper, the director, what he does so well in this film is it being the 70s and their style is a lot more fluid and they're actually shooting on like grainy film, and he throws you into a world that is so relatable because I think in that this is based on true events. Who knows if it actually is, if it actually happened, nobody will know. But so the way it's filmed, because it's very loose, along with the terrific performances. I think if you have one character in the beginning of the film that's so cuckoo crazy and loose and is a ticking time bomb, it immediately makes the audience feel so uneasy that you're like scared for anything after to come. And I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre does that so well. And then you have a person with disabilities, and they're obviously at a disadvantage. And then on top of that, they're like in a foreign place, going to their grandfather's grave. And then, oh my God. Oh my God, it's so good. Let me just take a moment to realize, or not realize, but just try to reiterate just everything about this film, because at the very end, the way everybody is so off their rockers, and when you finally meet the family, and just the way the loose filmmaking style and how everyone is so crazed, and I think what makes good horror films is the performances. You have to come back to the performances. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is unlike anything I've ever seen because it is so in your face, raw, and the tension is so incredibly knit tight and well built. It's so good. I ended up seeing the Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I think he ended up making like 10 years later or something. And so the time was different, and he ended up adding a lot more humor, so it's not as scary as before. So yeah, so the first one came out in 1974, the second one came out in 1986, so that's a very large time gap. And in the middle, he was able to make Poltergeist, which I watched as a child, and I could not sleep for days. I think I honestly blocked it out of my memory because I don't like seeing little girls just there. And the family members, the cannibalism, the who the fuck wants to be killed by a chainsaw thing? It's really one of the most horrifying ways to go. And everything's just so, oh man, it's just so loose, and anything could happen and puts you on so much edge. I've never felt like that for a while. Anyways, so the last film that I'm going to talk about, which I ended up obviously seeing at Beyond Fest, who just educates me so much on all the horror films, because honestly, I've said time and time again, I can't do scary movies because I want to sleep, you guys. I think as a child I would like stay up all night being tormented about thoughts of ghosts and people like invading my house and all this other stuff, that I was like, no. I just want to like chill, watch like good movies, but not ones that will torment me throughout the night and into my psyche. But there's this one film I watched, and I would say this is the most bizarre film I've ever seen in my life, and is Oski's Possession. So I went in not knowing anything, and it came out in 1981. It's about a woman who starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after asking her husband for a divorce. Suspicions of infidelity soon give way to something much more sinister. So the premise seems very simple. You have a husband, you have a wife, but things, the way it's filmed, the way it's set up, and the incredible, disturbing, and just so insane acting by Isabel and Johnny. Sorry for any mispronunciations. I'm not very good at speaking, especially names. Anyways, her performance in this is what makes this film one of the most iconic and a masterpiece. Also because Andrzej Julowski's style of filmmaking, and if you've watched any other film, is he takes you into a different world that is so crazed and so insane. You would have never seen this on screen. And Possession is one of those films that will like taunt you, and you're just trying to figure out what is going on, but every scene that progresses is more disturbing than the next, and then it just goes off the rails with the performance. And as you know, there's an iconic like a tunnel scene where she has like a bag of groceries, and she literally becomes possessed, and it's one of the most fantastic, and it's a very incredible sequence to watch, when even if there's no context to it, because I don't think previously to that point it tells you anything about what the hell's going on. And it's one of the most fantastic things you'll ever see on screen. It's so good in the way she captures literally being possessed, but in such a realistic way that I'm so glad she was able to bring that onto screen, because anyways, so this film, the way everything happens, and there's like the huge reveal at the very end, and I think I walked away thinking, what the hell did I watch? For one, this is the most bizarre film because it doesn't really tell you what's going on, and everything just unravels and unravels. It's like if you had some tension with the husband, and then you start thinking about whatever, and then it becomes, oh my god, I can't even. I'm trying to think like how to precisely describe this film. And I can't, because, hello, Possession there's no words in how to describe the fantastically crazed and, oh man, it's iconic, you guys. I wish, if you guys watched it, please let me know what you guys thought. If you guys didn't watch it, you have to watch it. I'm trying to figure out all the adjectives and feelings that I could talk about in describing Possession, but it's honestly one of those film experiences that you have to see for yourself, because no matter what I'm gonna say, it might not just relate. And it probably is my most memorable film experiences ever, because I had no idea what I was getting into, and I think by the time I finished the movie, I was like, holy shit, this is like some of the best filmmaking I've ever seen. And the way his style is so it's truly his own singular vision that cannot be replicated by anybody else, and that's why he's so good. I've seen his other film on the Silver Globe where he wasn't able to get financing, so he couldn't finish that film. And it's such an insane film. There's a cave scene where he was able to get like a bajillion people having like this intensely, it seemed like an intensely crazy orgy or something of sorts. So Andrzej Zulawski is one of the most legendary filmmakers ever. So let's go down. So my 10 horror masterpiece films are Suspiria, Audition, The Brood, The Descent, Let the Right One In, The Shining, Don't Look Now, Martyrs, and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Possession. Holy shit, that was insane. I wasn't sure I was going to get through that. So as I listed below, I'm going to give out a shout out to The Orphanage, The Babadook, which I have a review for, so you guys should watch that. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Carrie, the 1970s one, Trouble Every Day, like I've said, Catherine Bigelow's vampire film, Near Dark, which I recently watched and fell in love with, and The Evil Dead. Evil Dead is one of the films that reminds me very, in a similar sense, oddly, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the way it's filmed. I love how the camera is fluid and it takes you. It's very disturbing because these people become possessed, and I think it's a makeup design that makes it so just disturbing to look at. Their eyes and like whatever they're slurring out, and yeah, possession films and demon films are not my cup of tea. I just can't do it, you guys. Oh my god. So thank you. Yeah, Jonathan says excellent, top choices. Russell says that was great. Imaginative top 10 picks. Thank you guys so much. So next week, honestly, I had so many things to say. So we did that. I gave my shout outs. Be sure to turn into my 90s horror DVD haul and look at my very, very, very old 2012 edition of the top film horror films. And if you honestly go to my blog and click the horror tab, there's so many. And you know what? I recently watched the scariest film of this year called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. It hasn't come out yet. I think it's coming out in December, but I'm going to do a review for it. And that film with the South Korean film, The Wailing, is probably the top 2 scariest films I saw this year. It's so, oh my god, why is my nose running? I'm becoming possessed with the sickness. So yeah. So for next week, because it's Halloween, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I've basically went through all my horror stuff, and next week for Halloween, for that weekend, I am going to a very, very special screening of something. Can't tell you yet, but I think I'm gonna get dressed up on Saturday nights. And possibly do a live stream of my favorite vampire films. I'm going to be hopefully decked out in blood and makeup, so I can tune in for that and then go to the event right after. But you guys can tune in if you guys like. It will be at a different time. It'll be Saturday, possibly like 5 p.m. Pacific time. And so, yeah, I'm excited for that. I feel like, and also I'm gonna have my movie, my pretty chill movie night. And so let me know if you guys want me to do a vlog on that, so I can just show you just whatever. Like I said in my 90s DVD haul, that I am going to be showing Death Becomes Her, and then The Witches So it's gonna be a chill night with just close friends. Just trying to buy little trinkets. I did buy this thing that I think is adorable. Amazing. So yeah, let me know what so you guys compile your top 10 or what horror films that you consider to be your masterpiece films and list them down below. I would love to hear what your favorite horror films are. I know there are so many and I feel like kind of like shitty for leaving out so many films, but I was like, okay, these are films I have to mention because like I said, for one, they were traumatizing, so well done in the way they tap into your psyche and emotional fragility in a sense. And third, they're generally terrific films that I'm sure if anybody watched will be for just disturbed for days. I think I said disturbed like 20 times in this video, but let's how else to explain all these films. So yeah, I think I literally vlog for an hour, so this is gonna be a long one. I'm hoping oh, I forgot to also give a shout out to The Devils. It's another film that I feel like a lot of these are by great auteurs and kind of avant-garde films. But that's what makes them so freaking amazing. So anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was an incredibly long one, but if you guys have any questions, list them down below and I'll answer them. And I loved talking about all these. These were so great. Now I'm just like, now I gotta watch more horror films till Halloween starts. And wow, I can't believe I literally went through all that. That was insane. And do I have any regrets on picking one or the other? You know what? They're all solid. Sometimes I was like, should I take Don't Look Now out? But I was like, no, that's probably one film I cannot watch again, and for good reasons. So anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and please, please, please tell me your favorite horror films, what you consider to be masterpieces, and definitely tune in next week for some goodness. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Bye.